One of the great enigmas of all times is how somebody can project herself to be a feminist and at the same time be Muslim. Because Islam is the world's most misogynist, anti-woman movement ever. So how do you reconcile being both? I think the answer is you just can't. You just do both and you hope nobody notices. Or somehow you rationalize that in your mind. Okay, this is a story that we found at mrctv.org, and it's attributed to Nick. I think he pronounces his name Kangadis. And he asked this question: have you ever heard the name Linda Sarsour? If you don't know this woman, who this woman is, you should. This is her photo here. She seemed to come into national prominence, particularly during the so-called Women's March, which most women didn't participate in, so they should have called it just a few Women's March, and they shouldn't call it a march, because they didn't march, they just stood around and listened to people, what's the polite word? Scream. All right, let's take a look at what this guy has to say. He identifies her, in case you don't know who she is. He gives you a little background. Sarsour is a Palestinian-American activist and executive director of the Arab American Association of New York, which is some kind of an NGO, and I don't know if it gets money from George Soros. Chances are it probably does, but I can't say that definitively because I don't really know. The article says that Sarsour is one of the women who organized the misnamed Women's March on Washington back in January. She's being championed as a beacon of light for women's rights and a new leader of the modern feminist movement. They're not feminist. I call them pseudo-feminist. Feminism to them is just a Trojan horse to destroy Western culture. Their particular target is the traditional family. That's pretty much it. The purpose of the movement that we refer to as feminism is really just an anti-family movement. They're not feminist at all. They just hijack the term to give them legitimacy. All right, who is endorsing this woman? According to this article, Amnesty International, the Southern Poverty Law Center, that should tell you something. Black Lives Matter, that just confirms what they told you. Senator Bernie Sanders, there's an icon of Americanism if ever I saw one. Lives in the mostly white Vermont. Nice anti-racist. Keith Ellison, who is a Muslim. Van Jones, who's a lunatic, my opinion. Sally Cohn, Susan's, Sarah Dawn, Mark Ruffalo, Sean King, and Russell Simmons. Sometimes you got to wonder what it is about people like Sally Cohn, who is Jewish, but yet she is endorsing this person who is a Muslim. Is there something new going on here where Muslims and Jews get along together? Oh, I know what it is. Their common denominator is they hate Western culture. They're advocates of globalism. They're left-wing lunatics, in my opinion. So it says, as soon as this Sarsour realized she was going to be put forth, emerge as a leader of the modern feminist movement, she began covering her tracks, or as he says, deleting tweets that she had previously posted. Okay, and then he gives an example of Bridget Gabriel equals, how do you pronounce that? Ayan Hirsi Ali. She's asking for a ASS whipping. I wish I could take their female private parts away. They don't deserve to be women. Do you really want to do that? Take their female private parts away? Isn't that called female genital mutilation? Okay, the comment from mrctv.org. He says, here's a tweet that she sent in 2011. Besides the tweet being severely anti-woman, the one thing that people should take into account is who Sarsour is talking about. Ayan Hirsi Ali. Ali is the founder of AHA Foundation. Geez, I wonder if they get money from Soros. The foundation focuses on women's rights, and Ali actively campaigns against the very thing that Sarsour says she wanted to do. Female genital mutilation. Okay, a little hypocrisy. Okay, let's scroll down here. So, here we have Sarsour, who professes to be a champion of women's rights. Notice the emphasis on the word profess. There's a difference between professing something and actually being it or doing it. She also vehemently believes in the one system of law that gives women almost no rights, Sharia law. So there you have the enigma. On the one hand, she's an advocate of Sharia law. On the other hand, she pretends to be a feminist. Which one are you? You can't be both at the same time. How can you be that hypocritical? How can you be that two-faced? How can you not know what you're doing? How can you live with yourself with that kind of obvious conflict? They don't even consider it. They just do it. This is what Orwell referred to as double-think or double-speak. You hold two conflicting viewpoints at the same time. All right, here are some of the things he lists that Sharia law, well, we should say that somebody who believes in Sharia law would also believe in these things to be consistent. Number one, okay, let me ask you this. As we read through these, stop and think. Would you stop and think, are these consistent with what most people would consider feminism? Number one, a man is entitled to up to 4 wives, but a woman may have only one husband. Okay, let's stop and think about this for a second. What culture is monogamous? Most cultures are polygamous. The only culture I can think of that is not universally but almost exclusively monogamous is Western culture. Very few exceptions, but most every other culture, Muslim culture, Far Eastern culture, Sub-Saharan African culture, wherever you have a culture that is not Western, they are polygamous. Or they permit polygamy, I should say. Obviously, not everybody can be a polygamist, because if one guy has 4 wives, 3 guys don't have any, based upon the, assuming there's an equal number of men and women. All right, so the question is, if you're a feminist, do you believe in polygamy? Sexual submission is traditionally regarded as an unconditional consent for the remainder of the marriage. If you're a feminist, do you agree with that? Yay or nay? Thumbs up or thumbs down? I hope you feminists are paying attention. There is no specific minimum age for marriage, but most agree a woman must have reached puberty. So what is that, 12? A woman becomes subservient to her husband and needs his permission to leave the house, take up employment, or to engage in fasting or forms of worship other than what is obligatory. Okay, you may have seen this in the news last month. I did a video on this. There was a woman who left her house without her husband's permission, and so the Muslims beheaded her. Capital punishment. There was another story in which a young girl, I think, man, what was she, 12, 14 years old, maybe younger, was cleaning her house and accidentally put her foot over the threshold of her door, and the authorities under Sharia law gave her mother an ultimatum. We're going to either kill you or we're going to kill your daughter as punishment for her putting her foot over the threshold without a man's permission. Now, does that sound like feminism to you? So why is this Sarsauer endorsing Sharia law? Why is she wearing that little clan hood and a little clan robe? That is a symbol. You know, they talk about the Confederate flag being a symbol of something. What more symbolizes hate than a hijab? The hijab symbolizes submission. Well, it symbolizes misogyny, the most anti-woman ideology ever. And she's running around with this hijab on, pretending to be a feminist. Do you not see the inconsistency? It's called the Hegelian dialect. You try to cover both arguments, conflicting arguments at the same time, so you can come up with some kind of a happy medium. You can't do it. They don't fit. They just don't fit. It's a round hole. It's a square peg, or maybe it's a square hole with a round peg, but it still doesn't fit. Okay, the next one is this. A woman's testimony is worth only half that in a man's court. Women who alleged rape without the benefit of the act having been witnessed by 4 men are actually confessing to having sex, which is adultery. If a woman is married and then raped without 4 men witnessing the act, the woman is accused of adultery. So the men not only witness it, but they have to agree that it was rape. not just entertainment. Okay, this article goes on and says Sharia law is something the Sarsauer, super duper feminist, has promoted in the United States. She doesn't think that Islam should in any way, shape, or form be associated with terrorism as evidenced in this tweet. We're not going to take time to look at that, but I think the point has been made. This person is professing to be a feminist, and at the same time she is professing to be a Muslim who is an advocate and apparently adherent to Sharia law. You know, what do you say? How can you be any more two-faced? How can you be any more hypocritical? How does this person justify this in her own brain? Maybe she doesn't have a brain. Maybe that's the answer. I don't know. But folks, when you, particularly women, when you start to look at the feminist ideology, you got to understand that Muslims and so-called feminists, they're not feminists. I'm telling you, they're not. They're just using the name to legitimize themselves. But Muslims and pseudo-feminists have one thing in common, and that is a shared hatred for Western culture, Western society, particularly with pseudo-feminists. The traditional Western family. They absolutely positively hate that. That is what, quote, feminism, unquote, is all about, destroying the traditional family. And they advocate a thing that I call domestic Marxism. That's where everything in the household has to be equal between the man and the woman, always. If the woman does the laundry, the man does the laundry. If the woman does the dishes, the man does the dishes. If the woman does the ironing, the man does the ironing. If the man mows the grass, the woman goes and has her hair done. Okay, but it's called domestic Marxism. Everything in the household is equal. Why? Because they want to destroy the family. That's it. They don't like the traditional family. So the next time you see this face, think hypocrisy. Feminism is totally, absolutely, positively fake. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it on social media. Lower right-hand corner, little round button says subscribe. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Come back, visit us a lot because we update constantly, almost every day. There's so much of this. There's just a flood of information. You do one video and there's 10 more ready to do, and you do those and there's 100 more to do. So it just goes on non-stop. And somebody's got to tell the truth. Somebody has to. I think I'll do it. So don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave a comment in the comment section below.
How to subscribe? Click subscribe. Click the bell. Check the box. Save.